We are entering the season number 2 of this podcast, and I am so happy about it. Right now, I'm sitting and chilling a little bit. It's evening. I'm waiting for my partner to come home tomorrow. He has been visiting his parents back in India, and I am so looking forward to seeing him again. So today I will just record the first episode of the season number 2, and then I will actually do a little bit of a ceremony for myself. I'm so grateful for all of you that have been reaching out to me, telling me how you like this podcast, how it helps you, or how it activates you, how it gives you certain type of insights, how it give you certain type of boost, like all of that. I'm getting so happy for it. I'm so grateful for you listening and tuning in. Together we truly raise the vibration together on this planet called Earth. So anyhow, last season we were talking about, we were touching the subject of following soul, and when doing this season or planning for this one, I was thinking a lot about what is it that I want to talk about, what is it that we need to address more of in this season. And what came very strongly to me was that we are done. We are so done. We are so done by this situation where we are in, by the reality that we want to call in and that we see or feel that we aren't in. We are so done by not having this type of manifestation into our lives. We are so done by not feeling positive about our days, or not feeling good in our days, or not feeling fulfilled. We're so done by not having the partner we want. We are so done with not having the dream job we want. We are so done with feeling stressed about a certain type of things. We are done. Whatever it is for you, we are done. So obviously it will be a little bit different from person to person, because we are all on different journeys and in different levels and stages. But that was something that came so strongly to me. We're all done. Okay, we're all done. So can we just talk about just getting over with it? So yeah, I will tune in even more to the ways how we can navigate through transitions, and how we can navigate through a certain type of reality where we feel that this environment, this situation, this reality, I don't belong here any longer. I don't feel that I want to be here any longer. I don't want these habits. I don't want these routines for myself. I don't want this mindset, whatever that might be, right? We just feel that, we feel that we want to move somewhere else. We are ready, or we are starting to feel very ready, because we're always ready. It's just that the feeling sometimes isn't with us that we feel we are ready. So we are going to talk about that a lot this season. We're going to talk about my opinions about desires, and how I have learned my lessons in regards to desires, and how we sometimes can actually create a certain type of feeling of separation to our desires, and how we can actually feed our own sense of lack more than we can feed our sense of fulfillment and feed our sense of feeling great and so forth, right? And even though this is going to be a discussion for later in a full podcast, I do also believe that it's important for us to, now moving forward, paying attention to where we are possessing in ourselves in a certain type of problem mindset, and where we are also seeing that we have to fix ourselves. Because this is something which I've noticed within myself, and also seen over and over again in others. Many of us who have been figuring it out, so to say, for a while, been improving, been changing things for the better for ourselves, has done that because we first and foremost came from a state of survival, or we came from a state of not enoughness and so forth, right? And then we continued that road and improving things in our lives, but we still didn't really go to that source of feeling enough. going to that source of feeling that there isn't anything that we actually need to fix. And there's a very fine line, and there's a very beautiful balance between fixing ourselves and actually like embrace improvements, embrace change, embrace that we evolve, expand, develop. That is something very beautiful, and of course we should do that. But the way how we do that, and the way how we look at that, and from what idea or feeling that we decide to make that change, that's the difference. If we have had tendencies from, or still feel that we sometimes go into this kind of lack mentality, or this kind of scarcity mindset, or this kind of mindset of originally from like survival state, is that we actually see that there is something to fix. There is something to fix. We have a problem. There is something to fix. Something needs to be fixed. Like all the time, we're constantly in that. And then it's quite difficult actually to create this kind of open, receptive channel of receiving. And that is what we need in when it comes to like whatever it is that we want to call in. We need to be open to receive that, right? So before I go into all of these type of juicy topics, which I will talk about throughout this season, I felt it was a very good way to start with talking a little bit about how it is that we can clear and cleanse our energetic channels, and how it is like what's the most important for us to have in the store while going through this season, but also of course while going through this navigating through our transitions, navigating through what it is that we want to be embodied in, what it is that we want to be, and what type of reality we want to be in, and so forth, right? So I have 3 different areas for you today, which I use every single time when I am in a transition phase, when I am in a phase of changing and shifting and removing myself from a situation, an environment, a reality, a mindset, whatever, that I feel that I've outgrown this situation. I'm done with it. I don't need this any longer. I want to move forward. And what I first and foremost need to do is I have to like fully let go of that situation. And how I let go of that situation is that I don't put meaning into the situation, and I don't hold on to the situation by different things. So something which I've done every single time this has happened, it's kind of the same foundation, but of course it can look a little bit different from what I am navigating through at that point. So first and foremost, what's most important for us when we are navigating and transitioning and leaving a certain situation behind, environment, person, something, a reality that we are done with, whatever, we have to give more support to ourselves. Support is a big part of self-love. Support is a big chunk of love, but also a big hey, I got you back kind of attitude and feeling around that, right? So sometimes, or many times, when we are actually want to go to a next level, there is something in the old version of ourselves or the own reality of ourselves where we feel that that feels more comfortable, it feels more safe, and we maybe see some certain type of benefits, even though we don't want to see it that way, but we maybe see actually there is some certain type of benefits, such as, okay, I want to move to this type of job, but in this job, I do believe maybe that I would need to work harder in order for me to get there. So it's actually more of a benefit to stay in this position as I am, because I don't feel that I want to work even more than I do today. That can be an example for a false belief where we are believing that it is more beneficial for us to stay in the situation where we are in. So when we are in those states of feeling more comfortable, or it feels in one way or another subconsciously, we feel it's more beneficial for us to stay where we are, or more safe where we are because we know that from before, or whatever it is. We need a big chunk of support from ourselves so we can move through, like almost like we're moving that mountain, right? So that's why it's so important that we, through that situation or through that season, we really look at how can I be the best support for me? How can I support myself in the best possible way? What is this situation require from me in order for me to hold myself with love, hold myself with maybe power, or hold myself with high vibes, whatever it is that I need. Like, how can I support myself in this situation right here, right now? If I don't feel supported by myself, there is a big chance actually that you will not take the steps, because this is really like almost kind of like our inner child that gets a little bit afraid, or our inner child who gets a little bit just feels a little bit unsafe. So we have to show that support. So that is number one, in order for us to now prepare ourselves for the reality that we move into. So next thing is to take an ownership vibe. Those of you who have listened to all my episodes in season 1, I have an episode that is called the ownership vibe. So definitely listen to that one if you want to tune into it again, or if you haven't listened to it yet. It is a really good episode, and because it really addresses the different excuses that we have, that we tell ourselves, so that we are continuously holding on or grabbing onto the situation that we are in. So I noticed with myself, with the people I talk to, like every single time there is some certain type of glitch in regards to the reality that we're in and the reality we want to be in. It's in regards to excuses. We use excuses so often. So often. I hear excuses every single day from myself, from others, about how it is that we can't do something because we don't have the enough of money to do something, or enough of time, or it's never enough of time, it's always running out, or that we don't have the strength within us, or that we just have to fix something first before we do this. We have to be in a certain type of state, or we need to be somewhere else, or whatever it might be. Like, we find so many different excuses. And that ultimately means, and we're saying to ourselves that we are not responsible for our change. And when we subconsciously tell ourselves that we are not responsible for our change, we don't take responsibility for it either. We don't take charge. So this is one of the most important when we are like clearing our energy channels. We need to cleanse first. We need to make space first, right? That is always like one of the biggest steps when we're transitioning to something, like making sure that we have decluttered. So when we open, that is what I mean, like when I'm talking about opening, clearing the space, or like having a clear channel, a clear energy flow in your body and energy flow in your thoughts, or whatever, we have to clear this space in order for us to move and shift in and have space for something new. And the third thing that is really important in order for us to open up our channel so that we can receive is to mastering our vibes. And this can be a little bit of a tricky one. That's why I laugh. When we are stressed out, when we feel a certain type of flag, when we feel a certain type of frustration, when we have done something over and over and over again, and we feel that we're falling back into the same pattern, into the same thoughts, that we keep on need to catch ourselves. Oh my God, when I was in that, that is actually, I have so much love for that part of my life, because I was in that for a very long time, and it was so frustrating, annoying. I felt so overworked and overwhelmed emotionally, like internally. I felt rushed, I felt pressured, I felt like all of those kind of feelings, because I was constantly in this kind of work mode of getting into a positive vibe, getting into a certain type of energy. And why couldn't just I stay that in that energy? So if you get annoyed by me by saying this now, like, yeah, you gotta check your vibes, I understand. I totally understand. Because I would have been annoyed for myself as well if I would have told myself that. What's important here is first and foremost to make the changes and shifts when we have the least resistance. So we if we continue to focus on getting into a positive state of mind or feeling the high vibes or whatever it is, and we are not feeling it, and the more we push towards that, the more resistance we create within that area. So first and foremost, many times we actually have to let go of that a little bit, to say that, you know what, I am not able to create these vibes right now. I will just let that go for a little while. I will do whatever it is that I need to catch myself, to release, to get the emotions in full flow first, so that I can pick me up later. We also find our different ways how it is that we can pick ourselves up. For instance, like creating different type of rituals, daily rituals. For me, to having a morning, during lunch, and evening slash nighttime ritual has been one of the best ways for me to pick me up in my energies and get into a high vibrational state. But I've been doing other things as well that has worked for me. And so the other thing that I want to say to you about this is that it is just a matter of paying attention to what works. Because what happens many times when we are fighting with this kind of negative and positive felt states is that we go to the negative sides and just like, why isn't this working? Why can't I focus? Why can't I just be in this state? You know, we go on a rant like that, and then we create this certain type of spiral. So we have to treat the mind, as I always say, with the same medicine, but we treat it in another spiral. So we are creating another spiral and catch ourselves to, okay, what is it that works in this situation right now? What is it that makes me feel a little bit better in this situation right now? How come can I feel a little bit happier right now? We train our mind to ask different questions. We train our mind to add another type of focus, so that we spiral into those patterns instead. So it's the same thing. We don't change actually something with us, so to say. We just change this perspective, and we just change the attitude. If we can get a hold of that, wow, we have come so far when it comes to get ourselves into a higher vibrational state. I promise you, I remembered I actually posted, I think, a Instagram post for this, not a like maybe a year ago or something, because then I just felt and I had a certain type of remembrance of that. I used to be in a daily state of, why isn't this working? Why do I feel so negative today? I don't want to feel that. It doesn't feel resonating that as it resonates with me, and so forth. And during that day, instead, I had so many cute little, happy little thoughts. And I was just like, what the fuck? My thoughts are on autopilot, happy and positive and just like light-minded. How come? You know? And yeah, how come? Because I've been treating my mind with the same medicine the whole time, but I'm just changing the perspective. And then one day it like suddenly hit me that, wow, it was changed. I was already in that vibration. I didn't need to do so much around that. And of course I fall into negative loops and minds still to this day, but not at all in the same way. And it's easier for me to catch myself. It's easier for me to get back into my vibes. And it's also easier for me to be in a more like neutral, lighter state. So once again, like where your focus goes, your energy flows. This is the three things that I always go through when I need to create more internal space for myself, when I need to open myself up to receive, so that I can be prepared, so that I can feel prepared, so that I can enter the new me, or the more true to me version of me, or the reality that I want to be in, and so forth, the manifestation that I want to call into my life, right? So these are the kind of the foundational things that I do believe is important, and it's important for you to carry you through this season. So when we go through different type of practices, when it comes to the feeling of I am done, and we're removing ourselves from that situation, it can be good to remember or go back to this episode to listen through and see if have I cleared out the space? Have I made space for the new me to emerge, the new reality for me to emerge? Have I made this space? So if you feel that this feels exciting, inspiring, or overwhelming, or whatever, I got you. I've been where you are, or I am a version of you right now where you are. That's why you've been called to my energies. I really truly believe that we have some certain type of exchange and mirroring effect to the people that we are feeling pulled to. I know my lessons, and I love to share my lessons so that you can do things with more ease than I needed to do. This is the last message that I will give you for today before I end up today's episode. But one thing that I sometimes mention a little bit now and then is actually that I don't necessarily like that when I see people writing that, oh, I have this kind of manifestation and it was so hard and it is so hard, or I have had this thing that I needed to heal for a long while and it has been such an effort, it has been so hard, so it will be hard for you too, but know that you can do it. And that is actually just the reflection of that person's beliefs and that person's experience. But just because that person have an experience that it takes a long time, it doesn't have to be it for you. And that is something that I always keep in mind throughout when I'm talking with people, that I can share from me to be able to also help out a little, to also be able to, you can do it a little bit easier, so that we can grow and evolve as humans. So we don't need to go in the same patterns, going through exactly the same things in exactly the same speed, We can actually do some kind of shortcuts. I actually do believe in that. And that's not to say that it's some certain type of spiritual bypassing. No, you should always meet yourself to your depths. Always. But we don't necessarily have to make it that difficult that we have been doing it from before. So I think that is very important to talk about. And lastly, I want to say to you that keep in mind that this podcast, and if you listen to episode number 1 in season number 1, I talked about why this podcast is titled as it is and kind of what my vision behind it is. And the vision behind it is that I realized that no matter how much I wanted to improve, whatever desire I had for the moment, however I felt at the moment, I always came back to, and I'm always coming back to, that I want to be living soul-led. And that is ultimately the thing that I want to, or feel that I am feeling the most fulfilled by. Desires change. Circumstances change. My thoughts change. All of that change. But the desire I have deep within my soul, the nudges, the understanding, the calling I have deep within my soul, it will always be there. Always be there. And if I can learn how to tune in and tap in even deeper, I will be having an easier, smoother, and just more loving life. Because if I'm being led by my soul, I know what's for me and I know what isn't for me. That's the only thing I have to know. I don't need to pay attention to all the different type of details. I don't need to figure it all out by myself. I can actually tune in, listen to my highest calling, and then get it like kind of sorted out for me, right? So always also pay attention to that when you receive different type of advices from other people, or when people are talking about certain type of things, like tune into yourself. Is there something that is happening right now? Do I feel a certain type of resistance? Why do I feel that? Is there some certain type of belief that I don't believe I can have this while this person have it? Or do I feel triggered by something? Or do I feel that this is actually not the way that I feel I'm supposed to do it in? Or yeah, this feels really, really great. Yeah, this is resonating a lot. Yeah, and we can do more of this too. And you know what? I can add this, So the more that we are like giving and receiving help and support from others, the more it's also important for us to be soul-led and always tuning into ourselves, tapping in and practicing to tune in and listen. Listen to what resonates with us and what doesn't, and be able to leave that out. Wow, it felt like I was touching a couple of topics today, and that was really fun. I hope that you enjoyed this episode as well as I did. Take good care of yourself. See you next time. Bye bye.